my biggest frustration, and we texted about it yesterday. I, I was pretty frustrated with Kyle McCord most of the year, and I in a joking matter would always call for Devin Brown's name. I don't think clearly if Devin Brown couldn't win the job
Yeah.
after missing the spring game and clearly he wasn't good enough to beat Kyle McCord, right? Like, and maybe some of that is lack of experience. Maybe it is missed in the spring game, whatever. Clearly, he's not the answer. Your next option is Tristan Gebbia, who's like a fifth year guy who's just really there to be, learn the ropes from Ryan Day, right? He's probably going to be a coach at some point, whether it's for Ohio State or another program. Like he's just there to kind of be a
Yeah.
resource, have some veteran presence, whatever. And then you have Lincoln Keenholz who didn't get here until August. So like clearly there's not a great alternative in the moment during the season, but there, and I don't know if this was a spring thing. I don't know if it was mismanagement then, but like the fact that that's just kind of what we settled with, and we were just with knowing what the defense was at, knowing where the wide receiver room was at, knowing where the running back room was at. Clearly, the offensive line had like there was just it's just overall frustration with the dude that he just never progressed, and
No.
there isn't really a good answer at this moment. But my frustration is more on the future of like, what do you do from here? Because clearly McCord is not good enough in this landscape of college football. Look at who is getting shit done right now. It's Jaden Daniels, it's Jordan Travis before the injury. I guess it's JJ McCarthy, even though I don't think he played that great. He did what he needed to do. He's mobile. Jalen Milrow, Carson Beck's even a little mobile. Like if you look at Bo Nix, like you look at all of these guys, they are dual threat quarterbacks that get shit done. Yes, they have more experience. I think that shouldn't
Well,
be overlooked. But
and if you're not a
come
dual
on,
threat, you better be throwing
right?
just darts that are. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but you're looking at. I mean, maybe this is a testament to how good CJ Stroud was, but there were talks of Emeka Buka going top 15.
yeah.
At Marvin Harrison, there's talks of him going, top 2, top 3. Like Kate Stover, probably going to be an NFL tight end. It's like, dude, you've got weapons all over the field. And if you can't get it done with those guys on the field, then you're not cut out to play Ohio State, quarterback at Ohio State.
No.
The standard of QB play is so high here that when you get a guy that's just a guy, it's so noticeable because the expectation is that if you have all of those weapons around you, that you should be in the Heisman race. You should be like that. You have everything playing in your advantage to play great football. And we watched a guy from the Indiana game up until this Michigan game that just felt like he flatlined and didn't take any significant steps up. He would have these shining moments, Notre Dame like being one of them, where you're like, okay, this is going to be that we're going to the next level. Kyle McCord's taking that next step. And then it would be the next week where you're like, he's throwing it behind receivers. He's throwing it, he's just staring down receivers. Here's an idea. If you have Marvin Harrison on the field, most teams are going to know that you're probably looking his direction. Either don't start off the read just staring at him, or go find one of these other 5-star receivers that are going to be wide open because he's getting double covered. Like it's so frustrating to watch. I joked about it with you, but like, obviously we are a very spoiled fan base. We have a first year, starting quarterback that takes us to 11-1 with 2 top 10 wins. And we're like, this guy's got to fucking go. Like, gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
But that is the standard at Ohio State. I saw somebody say it. They're like, it is a shame that Ohio State had to. It is a shame that Ohio State had McCord as their quarterback all year with what they had on the field. When you go look at teams that, like you said, Jaden Daniels, Jordan Travis, Bo Nix, like they're just, so many playmakers at the quarterback position across the country. And I think if you just pick them off their team and plant them in Ohio State's offense, it's you're looking at the best team in the country, and instead we just got this kind of mediocrity, on the offensive side of the football. And when we really needed that defense to like take that that stand for us, and be that rock, it felt like, when one would go high, the other would go low, and the other, if we got a big stop, the offense would give it right back. So it was just it's a tough year. I think you and I kind of looked at it from the beginning, and we kept on waiting for like this, eventually, if the offense doesn't figure it out, we're going to be in trouble. And unfortunately, it went till the end of the year. So it just sucks to be where we are now.
Yeah. I mean, it was, some of the writing was on the wall. I mean, I think the main concerns coming into the year was offensive line, and that, although there were some improvements throughout the year, it's still like they graded out terribly.
Yeah, the PFF grades were brutal.
Yeah,
our linebacker unit and our offensive line unit, it was like, their parents are getting called in during parent teacher conferences because the grades were rough.
So bad. Yeah. So like that was a concern, but you kind of thought that, hey, there's enough weapons, and if a quarterback can figure it out, like you clearly can't erase some of that, but like you definitely can scheme up some things to get the ball out quick or whatever, right? But ultimately it is a quarterback thing, and I think that falls on Ryan Day in a lot of ways, because he's ultimately the one that made the decision. Now, is that the decision that he made back in, back when, or is that the decision he made, coming into the season and picking Kyle McCord over Devin Brown? Or is that the decision he made picking Kyle McCord over JJ McCarthy? We don't know. Who knows? I don't know if JJ McCarthy on the Buckeyes wins this game. I don't know, because again, I don't know if
JJ McCarthy is still a Buckeye. If he's sitting behind CJ Stroud. Like, I think that would have been a transfer portal. I'm going to go, see if I can shine somewhere else.
But I mean, they are the same, like him and McCord are the same class. So that's why that comparison is there. And McCord did wait it out. So like, either way, so it just, who knows? I mean, but ultimately, I do think like that is the Ryan Day responsibility. He takes pride in being the quarterback coach. Although he's the head coach, he is the quarterback coach. He has produced, Dwayne Haskins and Justin Fields and CJ Stroud. And, even if you go back before that, like the level, like JT Barrett wins this game.
Yeah.
I think Braxton Miller wins this game, and Dwayne Haskins, CJ Stroud, and Justin Fields certainly win this game. So it's just not, yes, we're spoiled for sure. It's just not up to the standard. My frustration with Ryan Day is low at this point. Like it is, there is frustration. I think things need to change. He has proven to us that he will change things when things are broken, aka, revamping the defense and bringing in a $2 million defensive coordinator. That has paid off in some ways, clearly not to the highest level yet, but has paid off. So it's just, he's got to make changes on the offensive side of the ball at this point, which is crazy to say. And again, that maybe starts with guess what's not changing? He's still recruiting 5 stars at the quarterback position. He still has, he has a, Lincoln Keenholz, who is more of a dual threat athletic quarterback as a true freshman right now. He has another true freshman 5-star, and Aaron Nolan that's coming in January, which is different from a Lincoln Keenholz who came in August. So
I was going to say, I don't know if you saw that little report. I think it was either last night or this morning, but makes things interesting because it
does.
Like I said, it's going to be, in my opinion, it'll be very hard for Ryan Day to pull the plug on Kyle McCord after he goes 11-1, loses on the road to Michigan by 6.
Yeah.
Like we're sitting here complaining, but CJ Stroud got blown off the field 2 years in a row. Granted, not putting that on CJ Stroud. That was two defenses that were soft as butter. But I mean, I didn't think you take away obviously the terrible interception in that first first quarter, puts them in a position to score. if you can put blinders on and act like that didn't happen. He made some big throws.
Yeah.
I thought he played okay, and he played well enough for us to be in a position to win that game. It's just so frustrating knowing that interception happened early, and then seeing the kind of the still frame of him just locked in on Marv on that interception. The last play where you've got like guys out in the flat that are there for 8-10 yards, you get a little bit closer, you stop the clock, but it is what it is, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I mean, at the end of the day, we've said it 3 times or 4 times at this point, but the standard is at Ohio State with Ryan Day as the head coach that you better be a pretty damn good quarterback, and you better be in consideration for the Heisman or as a first round draft pick, which the 3 quarterbacks before him have been. One of them was number 2 overall, and one of them is entering, definitely offensive rookie of the year, but has even put himself in a place to be an MVP candidate.
Yeah.
Either way, so Kyle McCord just doesn't live up to that, and I think that is the difference here. And sure, I'm not completely shutting the door on McCord. Like, I think that if he makes some crazy improvements and
see, that's the risk you run, though.
That's the risk. It is, but like I think that what you can't do is go, I'm taking the bet that he's going to do that and he is the starter, no questions asked. I think what you do is you go, we have and Devin Brown's probably gone. If my guess is that Devin Brown's gone. So we have 3 quarterbacks that are all very, again, Aaron Nolan's a different story, but true freshmen have succeeded at the college level, especially ones that come in January. So we have 3 quarterbacks. Clearly, Kyle McCord has a lot more experience, but we weren't happy with the results of last year. It is an open quarterback competition. We'll see how the spring goes. And hey, maybe McCord takes those steps, and maybe it is like Keenhol's not ready, Nolan's not ready, and it's like that's what we got to do. And maybe you look at the transfer portal, probably not, but maybe you like if McCord's still not cutting it and the other guys aren't stepping up, maybe you do look into that. Or you go, okay, yeah, go ahead.
Well, there's also such an interesting aspect of next season specifically, because it's going to be the first time that you can lose 1 or 2 games and still go play for a national championship. Yep. Like in the Big Ten, I should say. Right now, it feels like if you lose a game in the Big Ten, like you have to pray that everybody else fucks everything up for you to sneak in the back door. So it's such an interesting aspect of like, if I'm Ryan Day, do I run it back with Kyle McCord, who we know who he is and we kind of know what to expect? Or do I let a young kid like Aaron Noland, like, do I let him figure it out? Do I let him take a loss early and develop throughout the season so that when we do get to those games, he's got a ton of experience and we've got a guy that we feel really confident can, sling it around and go win us some really big football games. I think there's upside and downsides to both of those, both of those options. You want to hear the dumbest spin zone ever? I've got one.
Yes.
Kyle McCord will be a lot better when Marvin Harrison Jr. is not there because he's going to have more people to look at.
That
rumor mill is saying that he was being told he had to force feed Marv, and that's why he was locking in on him all the time. So there's my spin zone for Honda McCord.
There's good and bad of that. I mean, definitely, you have a Marv on the team, and there's a reason why you do want to feed him the ball. But yeah, I mean, you definitely lock into somebody, especially when you have as much experience with that wide receiver dating back to high school and all of that. So, but no, I mean, back to your point, and we'll move on after this from the quarterback side. But not only do you have the 12-team playoff, but you open the season with Southern Mississippi, Western Michigan. You have a bye week and week 3, which is crazy. But there's 2 bye weeks next year. So you have a bye week, then you play Marshall, which, hey, elite program, beats some of the best.
I was going to say,
I'm 3 teams out there.
Yeah, familiar with them having some frisky teams that can cause some upsets.
But you have those, like, you start out with 3 home games plus a bye. So your first 4 weeks are cupcake, right? Like you're not being tested on the road. You're not going to Notre Dame. You're playing very easy out of conference schedule.
We talked a lot of shit about that Michigan schedule this year, and I looked at ours and I was like, oh, ours is really bad.
Well, yeah, but
worse.
I mean, you still that's okay. I mean, I guess that's just the world that it's probably going to turn into with the 12 team playoff and all of that.
Yep.
But I mean, you have pretty much all of September. You go to Michigan State on the road, but they're clearly in kind of a rebuild with a new head coach and all of that. So like that is your first test. So you have, not only do you have more margin for error with the 12 team playoff, but you also have a pretty easy schedule in end of August to September to develop a guy, let them make mistakes, but ultimately still not lose that game. Like you're not going to lose those games as Ohio State.
Right.
So that even builds it up more. But either way, not happy with the Kyle McCord experience this year. Clearly showed. I mean, again, he's not the worst quarterback in college football. He just happens to be the worst quarterback in the top 8. And guess where Ohio State likes to live? In the top 4. So when that doesn't, when you can't cut it there, it's just that, again, the standard's very high and it should be.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we should expect any less either way.